How you doing today? I'm FrankieG, the Cooking Cowboy, and you must be wondering, what's all the spooky music for? Well, I'm going to tell you, Halloween's coming, and today I'm going to be making something special. What am I going to be making for you? Zombie meatloaf. So let's stop wasting any time because my family's hungry and I got to get cooking. And if you're looking for the recipe, just go to allrecipes.com and look up Chef John's Zombie Meatloaf. All right, let's get started. So while the oven's preheating, what we want to do is we want to start to saute our vegetables that's going to be added into the meatloaf. So let's take a stick of butter, add it into the pan and get that melted. So now that we get the butter melted over medium-high heat, we want to start adding in our vegetables. So we're going to take a cup and a half of diced onions, and a half a cup of celery diced, one teaspoon of salt, and we're going to mix that all together and let that saute about 5 to 7 minutes. Remember to stir it every so often because we don't want it to burn, we just want it to soften up. So it's been sauteing about 7 minutes, so let's give it a taste and see if they're softened. Yes, they're softened up nice and good. So now, at this point, we want to add some more ingredients. So what I've got here is a teaspoon of pepper, a half a teaspoon of thyme, and a quarter teaspoon of cayenne. Let's add that in. Stir that up. Oh, I smell that thyme. The aromatics coming off this is beautiful. Now we also want to add 3 cloves of garlic minced. FrankieG comes prepared, huh? Okay, so the garlic's been added. Let's mix that in evenly as well. So now that everything's mixed evenly, what we want to do is shut the heat off and remove it from the heat, let it cool down about 10 minutes. So while that's cooling down, let's get over here and get started on the meatloaf. So now that that's cooling off, let's get the meatloaf started. I'm going to be using 3 pounds of meatloaf. This is going to be a big meatloaf. So you're going to want to break it up evenly. Let's get some gloves on before we get this started. So now that we get the gloves on, we want to break it up evenly. So now we want to take 2 teaspoons of salt and add that to the meat. We got 3/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs. Three tablespoons of buttermilk. One egg, which has already been beaten. One tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. And 2 tablespoons of ketchup. There's one. And there's 2. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get our vegetables and we're going to add that to it. So now that we've got all the ingredients in there, we're just going to mix it all together well. So make sure you take your time, mix everything thoroughly so all the ingredients are incorporated evenly throughout the loaf. So now everything's mixed evenly, I can get these gloves off. So now everything's mixed evenly, let's cover it with plastic wrap and stick it in the fridge for now. Let's get that put away. Let's get the cling wrap put away since we don't need it anymore. So while we have the meat mixture in the fridge settling, what we're going to do is we're going to take the other ingredients and we're going to put them together to turn this meatloaf into a zombie meatloaf. Let's get that going. Take one onion that's sliced and I'm going to cut it right in half. And I'm going to cut about a 1/2 inch slice on the bigger ends. There's one. You can actually discard this. So now that we've got the 2 onion slices, about 1/2 inch thick, round onion slice, these are going to be the eyes. So now after we got these eyes sliced, what we want to do is we want to take some cloves. I'm going to add them right to the center, and that's going to become the eyeball. There's one. Two. You can add a little bit more, make them bigger too. I'm going to add a couple of them just to make it bigger. This is your meatloaf. Make it any way you want. And there we have the eyes. And now the eyes are done. So now we can push these off a little to the side. And now we want to make the teeth. So you take another piece of onion, cut about a 1-inch thick slice, say like that. And start chopping down. And that's going to make the teeth. Now what we need to do is we need to get this meatloaf put together. Let's push this off to the side a little. Make some room here because I need to get a pan with some parchment paper. And here it is. And so now we got the pan with the parchment paper. Let's get the meatloaf out. Let's get the meatloaf mixture onto the pan. So the next step is to basically shape it like a skull. So I'm going to turn it this way. Because you want to start pushing it in here. A little skinnier on one end. And fatter on the other. So now that we've got our skull kind of shaped, like that. So now that we've got that done, what we need to do is push some indents in for the eyes. And the nose, and of course the mouth. So it's going to look something like this. I'm going to wash my hands because we have to get to the next step. So the next step is to cover this baby with bacon. That's right, bacon. How much? Whole pound. Looking good, huh? So now that we've got the bacon on, now it's starting to take a little bit of shape. No pun intended. Maybe a little pun intended. So what's next? Next we add the eyes. There's one. There's the other. Now we get the teeth. Add some zombie teeth in there. And there's your zombie meatloaf. Now, you also want to tuck in any excess bacon. Make sure that's tucked in. How does he look, huh? Scary? So now that the meatloaf's in the oven, I've got about an hour. So I want to get all this mess cleaned up. Okay, so everything's done. First of all, I need to give props to Mrs. G. She came in, she helped me, she did most of the mashed potatoes, she took care of the corn, she took care of everything. That's why everything's already done. So now, here's our finished meatloaf, but what we want to do is, we want to add our blood sauce. Basically, it's a 1/4 cup of barbecue sauce, a 1/4 cup of ketchup, and a little bit of Tabasco. So let's add a little bit of blood sauce here. Let's get it coming out of his mouth, like that. All right, a little on the side there. Look at that, huh? And there is our zombie meatloaf. But let's cut into it and see how it is. The meatloaf is cooked through. Let me get a little plate. So here's a plate. And remember, I only use the best paper. It's a piece of meatloaf. The blood sauce tastes good. The meatloaf. Oh, the meatloaf is tender, juicy, flavorful. And can anything not be better with bacon on it? Beautiful. And don't forget, if you want to see more, hit that subscription and don't forget to hit that bell. See you later. FrankieG, the Cooking Cowboy.